I think the individuals should be entitled to it, even if, frankly, they just sit in the audience. That's just my thoughts.
Let me ask Ms. Lancaster, and then I'll go to Mr. Courtney. Based upon what you said, it sounds like you and the city clerk believe the only way that an alternate could be paid is if they're actually sitting in deliberating?
Yeah, that's the impression I got, and I don't know that this board has the discretion. That's a budgetary consideration and would have to be discussed as part of the budget process as to what funds are available. And, I don't think you can ask them to pay them without having city council involved with that.
Okay.
Mr. Courtney.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if we want to equalize it, we can ask that they no longer pay us. Although the payment is really not for your time spent here. It's supposedly to cover your expense of running around looking at the properties. And if they're not normally attending, they wouldn't be doing that.
Oh, well, that's good. I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, that was the intent, was to offset your extra expenses of running around. But again, if we want to equalize it, just make a motion and request that they discontinue the payments.
Any other board members with input on this issue? Do either of the alternates wish to give any suggestions on this? Okay. Anybody else? I was just kind of thinking, based upon some of the comments made here and before I came to the meeting tonight, the research that Paul had done for us, that kind of, it looks like this best suggestion to go is to encourage the alternates to attend primarily for educational purposes, so they got to get an idea of the way we're operating, and so that good educational experience for them. And then we encourage board members to make sure you look at the agenda. If you don't think you're going to be here, or if you think there's a potential conflict of interest, to get a hold of Mr. Evans as soon as possible so that he can contact the alternates to make sure at least one of them is here. That appears to be the way I would suggest we go, but it's up to the majority of the board if they prefer a different direction on that.
Mr. Chair, you can always change your policy too.
Sure.
If it looks like 6 months from now you've had an issue come up and now you changed your mind and you think it's important to have an alternate or not have an alternate, nothing's really written in stone. You can just kind of bring it up for discussion again.
Okay. Mr. Bartnick?
I was just going to say that I think it's important that the alternates get the same package we get ahead of time, and they have the opportunity to act on that. But I kind of agree that the idea would be to ask that at least one alternate be here every month and kind of alternate that person. Well, number one would be here 1 month, the other one would be here the second month. And that they'd stay here until at least the portion of most of the meeting is through, so you know whether or not the last item on the agenda has been addressed without the need for conflict.
Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm in agreement with Mr. Courtney. And I'm hearing from our city attorney that the main focus of recusing yourself would be a financial issue. And I can't imagine if a board member looks at our packet sent by email. I mean, I don't know about the other gentlemen on this board because we don't have any ladies here. But, I mean, I don't hold any real estate in Troy other than my home. Maybe other people do. God bless you if you do. The point is, I think there's an immediate red flag. You know where you're invested or where you have an interest. And so I guess my simple point is this. You know, it's a public forum. If alternates want to come, that's wonderful. They should come. I wasn't able to be here last month. I was out of state on business. That was called for me at the last minute, a couple of days or a day or two before the meeting, and so I appreciate one of the gentlemen sitting in for me. But when I got back home to Troy and the rebroadcast of the 5 o'clock Friday meetings, because I don't have much of a personal life, I watched almost the entire meeting. But the beauty of our technology that we have is that even if you don't have cable, some people don't have cable, you can go to the web and you can watch it rebroadcast. So the point is, I think it's good that anyone interrelated to this board is apprised of what's going on. I try to watch every meeting that I've ever had to miss over the course of my service here, but you can do that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So, I mean, I think whatever the alternates want to do, that's fine. I don't know that there's ever going to be a requirement that at the last minute someone needs to recuse themselves, because I think everybody looks at the packet ahead of time. So those are my thoughts.
Mr. Stratt? Nothing? Any further comments or discussion on this? Unless somebody feels a need to make some type of a motion, it looks like we've kind of given a direction to staff and the alternates, and unless anybody else has anything more on this issue, I guess we have kind of an operating procedure, unless, Ms. Lancaster, you feel we need to adopt some particular rule, or do you think our standing rules kind of cover this situation
I
as it
think it
is?
covers the situation, and I think what you're telling us, as I understand it from the board, is that if they want to come, they can, but right now, we're going to try, and if you're going to be absent or you think you have a conflict, if you'll call Paul, we'll see how that works, and we'll make sure there's at least one alternate here or another if it looks like we have more than 2 absences or conflicts. And then if that doesn't work, we'll revisit it. So I don't think you need to vote on it. I think that's
Okay.
just...
And as extra incentive for the alternates, if you're here, we'll always introduce you so that you get all that public recognition from the millions of people watching the broadcast on Fridays at 5 o'clock. Mr. Stratt.
Yeah, the only comment I'd make is, at least I think they should sit up here with us if they do desire to come, even as an alternate, rather than sitting out in the audience. Then you can actually introduce them as well.
Mr. Chair, I think that's kind of extra work for Kim, and I mean, it's up to you if you want to have him here, but I'm not sure that, is that going to confuse the average audience member, or, and maybe they will feel self-conscious because they're sitting up here and not making any comments. I don't know, but I don't know if that's such a great idea. I mean, I will leave it up to you. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think that might lend some confusion to the petitioners as to who are those 2 gentlemen on the end. And
Any preferences from the board on how would you like to go, Mr. Courtney?
Yeah, I would rather they sit in the audience because of that. I never thought of that before, but it could possibly confuse the public thinking who they have to talk to. And I don't just think one should, I think they should be encouraged to come. Even though they're not required to, I think they should be encouraged.
And knowing both gentlemen, I have a feeling they'll probably both be coming for a while because they're very interested in public service. So, any further discussion on the issue? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on then. Communications, I see no communications.
I do have one.
Okay.
You were, a couple of you were, Mr. Clark and Mr. Lambert. Lori came last time, and she did, was it last time?
Yes.
So, yeah.
I can tell I'm getting old, I can't remember. But she did give us a book. Do you have a copy? We did find two pages that have to be replaced. We have the new standards, which is section 5, and 6 was outdated, so we did a page that says this section intentionally left blank. I will either give you these 2 pages, or if you want to bring your books in. And those books, we're thinking of going with binders in the future, because they have those little things on the end that are hard to pull off and replace. So I'm going to pass these out, and if you want your binder redone, bring it in, and I will be happy to have someone redo your binder. But these are just...
Is the document available electronically as well, or not, or is it?
I don't think, this is Lori's
Okay.
little edition that she presents, so, and did you get them a book, Mr. Lambert and Mr. Clark?
I received copies.
All right.
So can,
If Mr. Clark and Mr. Lambert will not take these,
Okay.
I'll get you the whole book.
Okay.
So you don't just have the 2 pieces of paper sitting there. We'll just get you the whole book with the revisions. You'll get the 2 copies with the revisions.
can we deliver those books to your house? I've got inspectors out in the
Or
field
just,
all the time.
give me a call and I'll stop by, or have my
Okay.
wife come by and pick it up, so.
I can do the same thing. I'm over here at the library quite a bit, so.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Very good.
We'll make sure you get a copy. Oh, the alternates need some copies. I'm sorry we didn't get to this before. Lori was out that day, and there was some confusion about putting the revisions in.
No, that's good.
Any further communications? Seeing none, next is public comment, and I see other than the official members and our alternates and the city staff, there's no one here for public comment, so we can pass on that. Unless there's anything else, we are adjourned for April.